What's going on out there, everyone? W.F.S here, and today I want to talk to you about Star Trek. Specifically, I want to talk to you about Genesis.
Genesis? Yes, Genesis. How can you be deaf with ears like that?
I'm referring to TNG Season 7, Episode 19. The episode was titled Genesis. Now, I've said some good things and bad things over the years about Star Trek The Next Generation, and don't get me wrong, I love Star Trek The Next Generation. But I want to focus on something I honestly think a lot of people are overlooked about this particular episode. TNG episode Genesis has a problem, and in my opinion at least, it's a serious problem because in 1986 a horror film solved it. 8 years before Genesis was even aired. So let's talk about Genesis for a minute. And I mean, we really need to talk about it because on the surface, this episode has everything going for it. You've got the entire crew of the Enterprise involuntarily de-evolving into primate creatures. You got Worf of all the people on the ship, turning into some kind of prehistoric killing machine. You've got Barclay spinning webs all over the engineering section. You've got Troy, who's mutated into some kind of a water creature that honestly looks like she just came out of the swamp. This should have been a terrifying episode, and I'm sorry to say, it just wasn't. Now, I know some of you out there are going to say to me that I'm wrong on this subject and that it was a fun episode. And yes, it was fun. I'll give you that. It had its moments, it was fun, and it had a little excitement to it. But there is a serious missed opportunity here. And when you compare it, really compare it to what David Cronenberg did with The Fly back in 1986, the problem becomes crystal clear. Genesis rushed everything. And I mean everything. We go from a normal episode to Worf attacking Troy, and all that in a matter of 10 minutes. There's no slow burn, there's no dread build up. You don't feel the horror creeping in because it's just bam in your face. Everyone's a monster. And then all of a sudden, boom, the fix is done. Now, I'm sure when the writers came up with the idea of this story, they felt to themselves, wow, this would be an incredible idea for Star Trek, a great horror story to introduce into the series. But while it may have been good on paper, the execution is where the problem is, because you don't really get to watch the nightmare unfold that these people were really suffering through. It's all happening in a matter of minutes. Now compare the Next Generation episode Genesis to the 1986 horror classic The Fly, which in my opinion was probably one of the best works that Jeff Goldblum ever did, one of the best performances that he has ever done. Seth Brendel is a genius. The character invented teleportation, and after he gets the bugs, no pun intended, worked out of his device, he decides to step into it one night. And without Seth knowing it, a fly gets into the transporting telepod with him and is deconstructed with him. And the computer got so confused because there were two genetic patterns that it merged the two of them into one hybrid creature. What makes The Fly such a brilliant story, even to this day, and I don't think anything else has ever topped it, is the fact that we get to watch Seth Brendel, a strong man who, once he goes through the teleportation and the machine splices and merges his DNA with a fly, we get to watch this man's humanity slowly stripped away. We watch bit by bit as parts of his body fall off, as his whole view on life is slowly being changed, and everyone around him that he loves is starting to pull away from him. Each time we see Seth, he's a different person entirely. His body is changing. Every time it goes from nasty to gross to completely disgusting. Not only do we get to watch his body falling apart, but at the same time, his mind is completely de-evolving. It's changing into more insect than human. Seth Brendel's transformation into the Fly took from the moment he stepped out of the telepod to the moment he died at the end of the movie. According to Google, it took 4 to 6 weeks, the transformation. Now, in the Next Generation, from the moment the crew got infected, the transformations were almost instantaneous. It just took several hours for it to happen. And I honestly feel like this is where the Genesis episode lets us down. We really should have seen the progression of the changes. We should have seen the characters, not only mental changes, but the physical changes taking place as well. But that's not what we got. We saw the personalities beginning to change. And then the next time we see them is when Picard and Data have boarded the ship, and suddenly there are all these creatures. And you could hear all these jungle creatures in the background, but you really didn't get to see anything. One of the worst transformations in this episode is Data's cat Spot transforming into an iguana. To me, this is just one of the worst things that they showed us in this episode. And to me, it was just a sign of, as I said before, how rushed the writing was for this episode.
I didn't realize it at the time, but there's an anomaly in your genetic chemistry that caused the synthetic T cell to mutate. Instead of activating one dormant gene, it started activating all of them, including your introns.
And that's what caused me to de-evolve?
You and every other member of the crew. The T cell became airborne and started to spread like a virus.
TNG Genesis had a problem, and the Fly had already solved it 8 years earlier. The slow transformation, the earned dread, the audience watching our characters losing themselves piece by piece. This is what makes The Fly a masterpiece. And that is what Genesis, for all its creativity, never quite achieved. Well, my friends, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on this. So please, drop those comments below and let me know. Until the next time, my friends, God bless.